Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, author of Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, Trump's War, and God, Faith, and Reason, Michael Savage.
Non-citizens invading America, non-citizens voting, non-citizens stealing our welfare, non-citizens destroying our health care, non-citizens destroying our school system. This is the final moment for the Trump administration, by the way. If he succeeds in stopping this horde coming in through Honduras, through Guatemala, through Mexico, if he succeeds, he will be the greatest president of our time. If he accedes to those liberals around him within his own administration and caves in and goes on and talks about something else, it's the end of his presidency and the end of America. We see the hordes at the border. We all look with our own eyes at all the pictures. Very cleverly, the Catholic Church and the other charities whose business is failing because their churches are emptying out, and never forget the billions of dollars they make in providing housing, medication, education, legal services. They make billions of dollars a year. Baptist Family Services, Catholic charities, Jewish charities, they're all in on the racket. Make no mistake about it. This is the seminal battle of our time. Trump won for one reason. He didn't win because he was a mean guy, didn't win because he was a nice guy. He won because he had a forceful message, which said, I will stop the immigrants, I will close the borders, I will focus especially on Muslims coming from countries connected to terrorism, and we all came out to vote for him. So far, not one brick has been laid for the wall. All we hear is lock her up. Oh, we've got some good things so far, but not the wall. The Republicans do not want the wall. The Democrat Party does not want the wall. The Republican Party does not want the wall. They want business as usual. They want the illegal aliens here for the reasons you can figure out. For the Democrats, it's the vote. For the Republicans, it's the business associated with it. And, of course, I'm sorry to tell you, there's an awful lot of contraband that comes in with immigrants. You don't want to hear it because the public relation firm that is behind this, working with George Soros and the others, the PR firm very cleverly puts a young woman with a baby in the front of a mob of thousands of young men of military age in perfectly clean clothing. They're wearing watches. They're wearing gold crosses. They're wearing new sneakers, most of them. They look really healthy and happy to me. They're not coming here for economic advantage as much as they are to take advantage of our economics. Write that one down. We keep hearing they're coming here because they want a better life. Well, that's very nice. What about the poor Americans? Are they entitled to a better life? What about all the poor whites who are strung out on drugs because they've been pushed out of the workplace and their pride has been stolen from them? Why don't we focus on the white pride that has been stolen by the groups in this country who you know hate white men? You want to go down the list? Am I allowed to talk about it? I will talk about it whether I'm allowed to or not, because we're living through an invasion, and it is orchestrated. A group of people of this size does not mobilize without funding and organization. Just in time for the midterms, here's another quote: spontaneous group coming in from Central America. Spontaneous, right? Well, is it spontaneous? Who is funding the migrant caravan? Do you know how much it costs to bring each one of these people over to this country? About $7,000 each. What is the per capita income in Honduras? $2,300 a year. So where'd the money come from? Where'd it come from? Who's sending them the money? Where did it come from? Well, we've traced it for you. It's not a mystery. You can pretty much say it. It's a word that begins with an S and ends with an S. And it's 5 letters. Leftist billionaire and all-around America hater and Trump hater, George Soros, is clearly, in the minds of those who have studied this funding, this. There are also American ultra-leftist foundations and corporations supporting this open borders policy. You want the names? Coalition called CARA, Family Detention Pro Bono Project. And who are they? Catholic Legal Immigration Network. Who are they? Catholic Legal Immigration Network. Refugee and Immigration Center for Education and Legal Services. American Immigration Lawyers Association. You know the lawyers? All the good liberal lawyers from New York? The lawyers? 3 of the 4 groups that I just mentioned are funded by the George Soros's Open Society Foundation. So, my friends, there's a leader as well of this group of invaders. And what is the oppression that they're allegedly fleeing from? What's the oppression in Honduras that they're running from? Well, the answer is according to my knowledge, remittances. What does remittances mean? That's the money sent home by so-called illegals who've come here already and pay no taxes and work or scam or bring in drugs and send money home to them. This asylum scam and open borders and free cities and things of that nature is all about money. So something's happened here, and the remittances from America are the main engine of support for the country of Honduras. The remittances sent back from America to Honduras comprised 17% of Honduras's gross domestic product in 2011, according to World Bank estimates. The second largest share of any country in Latin America or the Caribbean. You want to hear more about it? Daniel John Sobieski wrote this great article on American Thinker, Illegal Caravans Encouraged by Honduras and Soros. You've got to read this article. Now, you got to ask yourself, where is the American black leadership on this? Where are the American blacks who speak for the poor black people in America? Tell me where. Where are they? Where are all of the loudmouths like, well, who are the black leaders? Well, you got Louis Farrakhan, who hates Jews. He's busy on his latest anti-Semitic tirade. He's not concerned about the illegal immigration. Who are the leaders of the African-American community who are standing silently by while the bottom of the nation is being invaded and the services that should go to America's poor, black and white, together are going to non-citizens? Tell me where the black leadership is. Where's Al Big Mouth, the Shark Sharpton? Where's the irrelevant Jesse Jackson who's disappeared from the landscape? No, not seen anymore. Seems like he's run out of steam. Where are they? Now, what are we going to do about this is the question. We know who's doing it to us. The part that got me really angry was hearing them singing their national anthem and waving their Honduran flags. It bothered me deeply because here in America, when have you last heard your national anthem? When have you last seen your flag being waved? You go to a boxing match, and what do you see? Mexican flags, Honduran flags, El Salvadoran flags, because they're great boxers, and I admire their fighting spirit. They're great warriors, and I admire that, but they're in my country. I never want to hear a foreign national anthem played in this nation again. I don't want to hear it. It gets me sick. If I'm in a sporting event, I only want to hear the U.S. national anthem. That's how I feel. And I'll tell you something else. If this keeps up, there's going to be a revolution in this country. It'll be the second American Revolution, not the second Civil War. Remember, I've been telling you, stop the coming Civil War? My most recent book is Stop the Mass Hysteria. I am telling you, if this keeps up, and if Trump doesn't stop it, there will be a second American Revolution, because the people have had it not up to here. We're drowning in illegal aliens. We're drowning in them. We're drowning in the lies of the Chuck Schumers and the Nancy Pelosi's, these elitist millionaires and billionaires who make believe that they care about the poor from these countries. But what goes around comes around. I tried to stop the mass hysteria, didn't I? I tried to warn Pelosi to shut her big mouth and stop stirring up hatred, because I said it's going to come around to bite you. And guess what? It happened to her in Florida. A group came and mobbed her. She had to run away screaming with her security guards. I tried to warn these leftists there's going to be blowback. What goes around comes around. I said, Nancy Pelosi, shame on you. Shame on you with your big mouth. Remember what I said many times. Read the Bible. You have sought the wind and you will reap the whirlwind. but it goes for all of us in this great nation. I am an immigrant son. That gives me a very special position in the American media. There aren't too many like me who's made it to the position I'm in. I can't name of one in radio who has. Can you name one? I don't know, and I'm not here to put them down. I don't really care where they come from, but I know this. None of them have the immigration experience that I do. I'm a first-generation American. I have one foot in the old world, one foot in the new world. I can see both sides. I know what poverty is. I know how desperate people can be. But I also know that a host country has only so many resources. And with all the vast amounts of poor people in this country, can we really afford to take in all of the poor of the world? Of course we can't. Go tell that to the Pope. Go tell that to Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein and Chuck Schumer and Governor Cuomo and Governor Brown, all of whom would not be in office were it not for the votes of people who don't even belong in this country. I stand by those words. All of these left-wing politicians have fought against voter identification at the polls. Why? Why? You put 2 and 2 together. You will come up with 5. Now, I got to take 5, and I'll be back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Hey, you know what's not smart? Job sites that overwhelm you with tons of the wrong resumes. But you know what is smart? ZipRecruiter.com/savage. See, unlike other job sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't wait for candidates to find you. ZipRecruiter finds them for you. It has powerful matching technology, which scans thousands of resumes, identifies people with the right skills, education, experience for your job, and actively invites them to apply. So you get qualified candidates fast. No more sorting through the wrong resumes. No more waiting for the right candidates to apply. It's no wonder that ZipRecruiter is rated #1 by employers in the U.S. This rating comes from hiring sites on Trustpilot with over 1,000 reviews. And listen, right now, Savage listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/savage. That's ZipRecruiter.com/savage, SAVAGE. ZipRecruiter.com/savage. Forget the tweeting. I'm sick of it. Stop them. Get them out of here. I've had enough of this. When I see a woman with a baby in front of every picture, and behind her are men of military age in clean clothing, jeans, nice watches, gold chains, and I see truckloads of men behind women with children and toys on the ground, I know this is all orchestrated. It's a gigantic public relations stunt in order to try and upset the electorate before the election. So who is behind it? Well, you don't need to be a genius to figure it out. We know who's behind it. Catholic charities, because the pews are empty. They need new bodies. Democrat Party, illegal alien voters. The money involved in taking care of illegal aliens is in the billions of dollars a year. So we hear that Trump has stepped in now and threatened to use the military, which is great. And he got the attention of Mexico and Honduras and Guatemala by threatening to cut off all funding because they understand one thing and one thing only, and that's money. Those countries, those dictatorships would collapse without the support of the United States of America, meaning the money that you send out of your pocket so those corrupt dictatorships can survive. Those nations would implode. And so the gangsters who run these countries don't want USA to be cut off, because they'd have nothing. And the mobs, instead of coming here, would go for them. So then we hear they're playing the national anthem and waving the Honduran flag as they come to the border with Mexico. And we're not allowed to play the American national anthem in schools anymore because it might offend some illegal alien or some twisted sister out there. The word caravan itself is a form of propaganda. Where'd this come from, caravan? Like it's something legal while with camels? Who is responsible for this? I gave that to you in the beginning of the show. Do you think this issue will help or hurt the Democrats in the midterms? How will this increase or decrease mass hysteria in this country seeing hordes on our border? KSFO, Sean, you're on the Savage Nation. What's your point?
Yes, So, what's really going on is history is repeating itself. Originally, this country was full of brown folks only. Then there's been some pirates or pilgrims that have...
Sean, I can tell you never went to school, right? What'd you go, 6th, 7th grade, max? Sean, how far did you get in school? 6th grade or 7th? Is Sean there? Oh, he hung up. He couldn't handle the argument. They gave him a quarter in the prison cell to make the call. Okay, it was originally with brown people now. A dummy. 6th grade. Look, you want to get into the origins of the United States, of the North American continent, and who actually discovered America? Would you like a little education today? Now, remember, you're talking with an educated man, and I'll rub it in your face. I'm the teacher here. You're the student. So listen before you open your mouth. Don't bring down the IQ level of the whole classroom just because you think that you have a podium all of a sudden. I wrote a book in 1972 called Earth Medicine, Earth Foods. It stayed in print for over 20 years because I was I shouldn't say a student of, but an admirer of all the native tribes and tribal systems and methods of surviving off the land. So I studied it in great detail. That's number one. However, if you think that this nation was just like a Mazzola ad before the Europeans arrived, with beautiful squaws getting acorns, and the braves hunting an occasional bison and praying to the prairie, then you know where you belong? In a mental asylum. Because I have evidence which suggests that Stone Age hunters from Europe discovered America over the ice bridge that they didn't teach you before Al Gore became a family name.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282.
And now we're starting to find out, and I won't say it 100%, I'll put a little tiny question mark at the end. But a lot of money's been passing to people to come up and try and get to the border by election day because they think that's a negative for us. Number one, they're being stopped. And number two, regardless, that's our issue.
He's right. Now, right now, at least temporarily, it looks like his strength has, let us say, impeded this invasion, this mini invasion. But it hasn't stopped the overall invasion into this nation. How anyone listening to this program, especially those of Hispanic origin who've been here generations, and I want to repeat again, I think the largest number of Medal of Honor winners from our military are of Hispanic descent. Do you know that? They're ferociously patriotic people and great warriors. Everybody knows that. You're telling me they want wave upon wave of poor and uneducated masses coming into this country, further eroding their own status in this society? I don't believe it. Yet again, it's the white elites doing it to this country. Once again, the Pelosi, the Feinstein, the Schumers, the Cuomos, the Browns, they are like the Indian chiefs of our country who sold out the Indians to the white man. Think about what I just said. It's an interesting way to look at things. We heard that when the European came, it was the Indian chiefs who were corrupted with guns, with booze, and God knows what else, to sell out their own people. And they did sell them out. They set them up and sold them out. You telling me it's not a good analogy? I do. I think it's a great analogy. So because we have a strong president who they're trying to embarrass with this caravan, that's what Soros is doing, what labors me at night is wondering why Trump has not had Soros investigated and arrested. You talk about Russian collusion and meddling in an election. You got a man who's openly out to destroy the country, openly out to flood America with non-citizens so they can vote here and undermine the nation's integrity. If that's not an illegal act, I'd like to know what is. Him and his son up there, that other cockamamie, cockeyed fool who lives up there in Park Avenue up there in New York, sitting there with his billionaire buildings. Why are they not investigated? You want to talk about collusion to undermine an election? There it is. Don't look any further than those funding the illegal aliens. Why do you have to look any further? You put me in charge of the DHS. You put me in charge of one of those organizations. I wouldn't be spending my time at events in Washington, D.C. having a good time. You'd never see me. I would just make sure this border is locked tighter than a centipede's. I can't even say it. It's a family show. Tighter than a worm's, you know what? It'd be tighter than a clam. Tighter than a clam about to be eaten. Our border would lock shut. That's what you voted for, isn't it? Isn't that what you voted for? Don't tell me you didn't. And why does the other side want as many millions of the world's poor in this country? Tell me why. Some of them are just stupid. As rich as they may be, they're idiots. They say, oh, well, are we a nation of immigrants? Well, yeah, sure, but we were in a welfare state when that Emma Goldman saying was written on the Statue of Liberty, give me your tired, you're poor, you're hungry, blah, 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 and the masses yearning to be free. Yeah, lovely phrase. I'm sure my grandfather saw it as he came over from Europe. I'm sure he saw that. Couldn't read it because he didn't speak English at the time. But it was written and put on the Statue of Liberty before there was a welfare state. You can't say, give me your tired, you're poor, you're hungry, and those yearning to be free today, because the whole world would want to come here. So we're now at the seminal moment where either Europe survives through a right-wing revolution in every nation, and America survives through a right-wing revolution in America, in every state, in every city and county in this country, or we are gone, and your children will not have a nation. Don't tell me it'll be different than better. It will not be different than better. Tell me the countries these people are coming from. They're better countries than they are here, than this country? Listen to what you think. You're not even thinking clearly. You want this country transformed into what? What do you want it to look like? And what do you want it to be like? What do you want this nation to be like? This isn't good enough for you? All you leftists, drug addicts, you? All you Robert De Niro's out there, you multi-billionaires, you never had it so good in the history of the world. Buying restaurants, hotels, people throwing prizes at you, but you hate the country, don't you? You hate the country. If only it was like blank, it would be a better country. What's that blank? What country do you want to be like? Now, if you want to get into the argument of, well, the country was not really a white man's country, all of that garbage is that's called a facetious argument, because there's evidence showing that Stone Age hunters from Europe actually discovered America. I know you didn't read that in your schools today, because the minute it happened, they buried the evidence. The Smithsonian took it out of there, wouldn't even put it in the museum. Remember when that shocking story came out in the early 2000s, I believe? America was first discovered by Stone Age people from Europe 10,000 years before the Siberian originating ancestors of the American Indians set foot in the New World. 10,000 years before the Stone Age people from Europe were here. How do we know that? Well, several dozen European-style stone tools dating back between 19,000 and 26,000 years were discovered at 6 locations along the U.S. East Coast. 3 of the sites are on the Delmarva Peninsula in Maryland. There are others, Pennsylvania, Virginia, 6 discovered by scallop dredging fishermen on the seabed 60 miles from the Virginian coast on would have been dry land in prehistoric times. You hear that? Would have been dry land in prehistoric times. That goes into the whole global warming fantasy, by the way. So that helps us in our understanding of humanity's movements around the globe. It doesn't matter what your race is, as long as your brain is still working. So all of these U.S. European-style tools unearthed before the discovery or dating of the recently found or dated U.S. East Coast sites were from 15,000 years ago, long after Stone Age Europeans had ceased making such artifacts. I know I lost you already. That's 4 or 5 ideas in one. And in the age of the Twitter, you can only go a certain number of characters until the brains freeze. I don't know how anyone can teach anymore in this country. You say 3 sentences together, the brains freeze because it's not a tweet of a certain number of characters. Maybe I have to do 3 tweets in a row. Then you'll 3 news headlines, maybe. What's more, chemical analysis carried out on a European-style stone knife found in Virginia back in 1971, guess what? It revealed it was made of French-originating flint. This is very important for those of you who want to know the origins of those who actually discovered America. You see, at the peak of the Ice Age, around 3 million square miles of the North Atlantic was covered in thick ice for all or part of the year. That was at the peak of the last Ice Age. See, there have been 6 ice ages. All of you dummies who don't know science. A 6th grader who has a reasonable intelligence can tell you that, of course, we want a cleaner planet, But stop lying about man destroying the earth. There are 6 ice ages came and went. So what caused them to come and go? Oh, weather patterns, not caused by man. I mean, there were no cars or industrialization before the last ice age. Can't you put 2 and 2 together? Which is not to argue that I like pollution. I hate it. But let's use reason here and science instead of being a moron about it. Peak of the ice age 3 million years ago. I'm sorry, at the peak of the ice age, 3 million square miles of the North Atlantic was covered in thick ice for most of the year. And what happened was the seasonally shifting zone where the ice ended and the open sea began was rich in food, seals, seabirds, fish, penguin-like species, the great auk. And so the Stone Age humans went over the 1,500-mile journey across the Atlantic ice. That's right. And now they have found newer material. They found in the early part of the 2000s is Stone Age tools from Europe. Does that mean the Native Americans don't belong here? I didn't say that. Does that mean you should be entitled to build a casino? I didn't say that either. But you want to know a little archaeology and a little science? There it is. Now, these are the Europeans who came here over the Atlantic ice. They may have been the first Americans. But there were Asian-originating Indians who entered the New World via the Bering Straits or along the Aleutian Island chain after 15,500 years ago. So Asia, Europe, they came here. So what does it have to do with anything we're talking about? It tends to diminish the lie of the left that the Hispanics who are coming here from south of the border are just retaking what's theirs. That's utter rubbish. You want to talk about that? Where does your history begin? When does it begin? So let's put that kind of argument aside, because what you have to do is begin with what you have now. It's whose nation is this now, not what it was 15,000 years ago. Because if you want to get into origins, I've just blown away your argument that they're entitled to take our land because it's theirs. It was never theirs. No. So let's put that argument aside and deal with what is. Now, the second question and the second argument becomes, I'll put it another way. If a man is not willing to fight for what's his, he should lose it. Let me put it to you that way. If you're not willing to, the world is becoming an increasingly dangerous, violent place. That's because of the immigration situation. That's plain and simple. Everyone knows that. I don't have to check a textbook and ask someone in at University of California whether I'm right or wrong. The violence is increasing in this nation because of the increased flow of violent people who are in the drug trade coming into this country. Ask any cop if I'm making it up. Let's start with Long Island, MS-13 gangs. You want to laugh that one off? Ask the cops who have to face these banditos every day whether I'm making it up. Ask the highway patrol in California what they face on these highways every day of their lives. The kind of bloodthirsty murderers they have to deal with on a daily basis. Ask Governor Brown if he knows anything about this, or he just likes to go to the funerals with the somber face after another CHP patrolman is killed in a shootout. Ask him why he lets that happen. So the country is becoming increasingly violent, and the fact of the matter is, you're only going to be able to hold on to what you can personally defend, whether it's from the government seizing your money or the government seizing your land or people taking your very freedom from you. And so, it begs the question of, is this country sustainable from the point of view of the will to hold on to it? That's really, the ultimate philosophical question. Are we worthy of this nation? Are we worthy of this nation? The one that was fought for and won through blood, sweat, and tears. Are we really worthy of this nation? Are you like that man who put down his pen, his fountain pen in the 1940s, or put down his hammer, or put down his saw, the Eddies of the world, and put down the white collar and put on the military uniform and went and fought Superman because he wanted to save his nation? Every man then was willing and able and knew that he had to. But are we willing to save our nation? Are we worthy of this nation and all the blood sacrifice that preceded us on this sacred land? Are we? When you see so many left-wing haters of our way of life in so many high places, When we see a propagandist of the worst kind being invited to kiss the Pope's hand, Michael Moore, that degenerate, low-life, lying propagandist, anti-American sack of blubber, is invited to kiss the Pope's hand, and you can't put two and two together about who this Pope is and what he stands for, then I can't talk to you. And I have to take a break.
Join us.
Let me tell you before we move on about the home security companies. You heard this before. Most of you, if you have regular home security companies, you know it's like a bad cable company, right? Hours waiting for the technicians, then hours on the phone. And then when you can't take them anymore, you want out, they say, nope, sorry, you're stuck in a 3-year contract. And I told you don't need to get stuck anymore. If you're looking to protect your home, go with Simply Safe Home Security. They're real, and they're comprehensive in their protection of every window, door, and room in your home. It's beautifully designed. It looks good in your house. You'll actually want to use it. You can put it in yourself with a couple of simple tools. And using Simply Safe makes your home safer. It's that simple. There are backups in place to keep you safe, protecting your home even if you lose power, you lose your internet, or someone attacks the system. Best of all, you're going to get 24/7 monitoring with police and fire dispatch for just $15 a month. And unlike other home security companies, no long-term contracts with Simply Safe. It's the best around-the-clock protection you can find for the best price. So protect your home today. Get free shipping and free returns at simplysafesavage.com. That's simplysafesavage.com. Once again, simplysafesavage.com. Well, here we are again. The border is the issue. And we're learning that, well, Mexico stopped the invasion for now. And you look at the mobs, 90%, by the video I'm seeing, are military-age men, strong young men. And they're so clever, the Soros PR people are so smart that they put pictures of young women with babies in front of the marching men. One picture I saw were thousands of young men, and in the front of the picture was a young woman with a teddy bear on the road. Can you believe how cynical the invaders and those behind the invasion are? So because we have a strong president who ran on protecting America's borders in the White House, he threatened to call out the military. He threatened to cut off the funding. And the strong man, Trump, has temporarily stopped this invasion. Mexico reacted finally. The part that goads me is if you look at the crowds, it's almost all young men. Look carefully at the videos. It's almost all young men. The women and children are being used as fronts to soften up the American liberal fool. Then you see the Honduran flags being waved and the Honduran national anthem. And then you'll hear the Upper West Side liberal women saying, well, that's their country. They're allowed to do that. They're proud of it. The very same women who would sneer at Americans who wave our flag or put a flag up in Westchester, they would have that person thrown in jail. All of these suicidal idiots. So right now it looks like, yeah, maybe this little invasion has been slowed down. Migrant caravan heading for U.S. clashes with police in Mexico. There's the Bleeding Hearts picture put up by Murdoch's New York Post. In the front, there's the father holding his dear little child. I'm sure there are some. Why wouldn't he want to come here? Wouldn't you want to come here if you can get welfare, medical care, health care, advanced admissions to every school in America? Your language being spoken instead of being forced to learn English. You can vote in any language you want. Why wouldn't you want to come to the land of milk and honey? If you got morons in the country who let you in, of course you'd want to come here.
Join the Savage